Hi, my name is Nick, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about at least 2 mistakes that you don't want to make with your road tubeless bike tires. So if you can see right here, take a look, there's something right there. Let me show you a close-up, and this is one mistake. Taking a closer look, you can see right here that there is some sealant dripping out, and it actually dripped out down here too. So what had happened is these are the Continental GP 5000 tubeless. I have a tubeless valve here. When I was pumping it up, after I pumped it up, some of the sealant was leaking under the valve and coming up through the stem and then bleeding out of the hole right here, and that's a huge mistake. So whatever you do not want to be inflating this rim air, because you could really damage it if you put any pressure into the rim. Some rims have little holes for drain valves, but this one that I have from Light Bicycle didn't have the option to have holes for drain in case it got wet inside, which it shouldn't because it's all sealed off and tubeless. So as you can see, there's no little drain holes, and then you'll be inflating this, and if you inflate that, these rims are designed to hold 80 psi or 90 psi like the tire, so you could structurally damage it or fatally damage your rim. So what's wrong here is probably the tape or this valve on the inside is not sealed properly, and that's why it was leaking out from underneath the tubeless valve stem right here. So the number 2 mistake that I'm going to talk about today is if you don't have the proper tools to remove a tubeless tire from the rim. So you want to make sure you remove all of the air, and I'm going to put it here to see if I can actually remove it with my hands. If not, I also have some tire levers right here, and also I do carry glasses because there's a little pressure. Oh, okay, so sometimes I pushed real hard and I was able to get it off the rim, the tire. Some tires are on so tight, even these GP 5000s are on so tight you can't pull the tire out of the rim, and other people have resorted to carrying probably not pliers this big, but other types of pliers on the rides in order to just unseat the. So as you can see, like I'm trying to pull this here and it's just not coming off easily. So with a lot of grip strength, I could pull the tire, there we go, off the sidewall, and then we could go ahead and inspect that tubeless valve, and I'll show you a close-up of that. So from the looks of it, I can't really tell if there is any gap under here or under this side. This is what it looks like right after I pulled the tire off. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to remove this valve core and look underneath. Getting a close look after I remove this, it looks like it's quite round. It doesn't look like there's any gashes or huge openings on the side, but even like this, as you can see on this left side as a real close-up, there's like a little crease here. So that little air pocket or crease right here might be just enough to let higher pressure around 70 psi let air and sealant slip out right there. So even if you could hear, when I go like this, it's not smooth. There's a little bump here, and that's all it took for sealant to spill out. On the left side here, there's another little bump here, and that's probably, these 2 creases are probably from when this was pushed all the way in. It created a little crease here. So I'm going to actually try to slowly get some scissors or cut around here. I don't want to damage anything, and see if I could put this valve straight onto the rim itself and see if that makes a difference. So I'm going to use, this is some eyeglasses, Phillips head, something real thin, and maybe a scissors. I might not need this other flat head to try to remove the area around the valve hole. So do this at your own risk if you want to. As you can see right here, part of the rim tape has been pushed into the hole, which probably created a little bit more of a gap. And then I'm just going to go around, and as you see down here also, there might be a little gap right here as well. So I'm going to use this and try to pull the rim tape back just a little bit and work my way to get under it. and see if I could use the scissors to cut a little hole that is a little wider, maybe go up to the edge just enough so that this touches the rim on the inside. So I went underneath and pulled this back a little bit, and as you can see, it's not the cleanest hole that I made, and that's probably why it was leaking out here just a tiny bit. And even a small leak, as you saw earlier, is enough to destroy your whole rim, so you got to be real careful when you're putting this part in to make sure that there's no leaks, and also check to make sure sealant's not coming out by the valve cap. And by the way, I am using 2 layers of Stan's tape, and now I'm using the scissors after I peel it back. I just kind of cut back a little bit more on this to try to make this hole a little bigger, so hopefully get a clean area where the valve can sit. So again, do this only at your own risk, because the manufacturer does indeed want you to poke a hole and put this on top of the valve. So I'm going to go ahead and see, like on the bottom here, it's probably still touching, so I want to make sure that there's a little gap here underneath so that this sits flush right onto the carbon rim. So now you can see the rim a little more, and I'm going to put the valve hole in, and it looks like it fits great. And there's space underneath and all the way around, so it should sit real flush. And this part right here is rubber, so it should have a good fit and connection onto the carbon rim. And when you're ready to reuse the valve stem, make sure you clean it out real good. So get a pick or something of your favorite tool, and then go ahead and try to clean out all this stuff out from the valve core or the valve stem right here, because if there's a blockage here, it's going to be real hard to re-inflate the tire. You won't get enough air, and it might not seat properly. So after you clean it out, it should be fairly clean, so you can almost see through it. So I went ahead, reinstalled the valve hand tight for the fastener here, and then I also put the tire back on. And at your own risk, go ahead, if you have a compressor, go ahead and use that if you want to. Otherwise, if you use a hand pump, that's recommended by some manufacturers, because they say if there is a leak and it goes into the rim, the compressor may inflate the tire so fast that it could damage your rim if the pressure gets into the rim itself. So far, it looks like it's holding up. I used the pump afterwards, after I got it to seat, put it up to 60 psi, and it seems to be holding pretty well. I think if there is any leaks under the valve stem area, hopefully just by moving this around, there's about 30 milliliters of orange seal sealant that I'm using inside this. Hopefully that would seal it up if there is any air that's trying to push out underneath the rim tape. So that part, again, do it at your own risk. So 2 things again from this video: make sure that you practice taking this tire off with the tools you have on your bike. So if you have a tire lever and some other tools, make sure you could do that in the field or out where you're riding, because you're not going to be carrying most likely any type of pliers with you. Maybe you will. And number 2, take a look for leaks. You don't want to see any leaks coming around any of the spoke holes or by the valve hole, because that's not good. If there's small leaks over by the tire, hopefully the sealant will take care of it and you get a nice solid tire. The air pressure should hold up as good as a butyl tube. I've had this for over a year now, and it only drops pressure just a little bit. It's a lot better than using like a latex tube where you'll lose, let's say, 10 psi over a day or so, whereas this one, if I put it up to 70 to 80 psi over a day or two, I might lose like 2 or 3 psi at most. Normally it's real good. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Have a great day.